Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Mono County Redistricting app. I'm going to walk you through how to create a district proposal. So if you first open the app, this is what you will see. You will have an empty map here if this is your first time in the application. If you have already started a proposal, those are saved inside of your browser, so it will pop up here instead of the empty map. So the first thing you need to do if you're wanting to start a new proposal is click Create New Proposal down here at the bottom. And then again, if this is your first time in the application, you will just have these top 3 tan options. But if you've already started a proposal, you can return to it using this green button down here at the bottom. So you have 3 options for creating a new proposal. You can start from scratch. So essentially you start with this empty map of all of the census blocks, and you can assign each of those blocks to the 5 districts, or you can start from something that already exists. So you can start from the current district boundaries and just make changes in assigning the blocks as necessary. Or you can start from a proposal that someone else has submitted. If you find something in the existing proposals tab here that is closer to what you're going for, and then again, you can make changes as necessary. So for the purposes of demonstration here, I'm going to do start from scratch. And just FYI, you can only essentially have 1 active proposal going at a time. So if you use one of these create a new proposal options, it will essentially clear out any work that you've already done. So just be aware of that. All right, first thing you need to do is give your proposal a name. There's also a place for you to add in a description. Please do put in a sentence or 2 about kind of what you were going for. Those descriptions are going to be very helpful once the actual selection process starts. And then you can click Start Assigning Blocks. And then this is where you will do most of your work. So we have our map over here, and we have this sort of informational panel over here on the left. All of the districts are listed out here. The colors are consistent throughout everything. So District 1 is orange over here, it's orange up here, it'll be orange in the map, and it'll be orange in this graph as well. So the other thing that you have down here is a population indicator. Again, you will have that same population indicator down here represented more visually. That's just how many people are in the blocks that you have assigned to that district. We also have in this graph down here our target population per district. So that's just taking the county's total population and dividing it by 5, which for the 2020 census was 2,639. So that's what you're aiming for. And so this deviation number right here is essentially just going to tell you how far away you are from that target. So your currently assigned population subtracted from the target population. So keep an eye on those numbers as you go. And as far as assigning blocks and getting around in the map, so map navigation is very similar to something like Google Maps. You can just click and drag the map around. You have zoom in and zoom out buttons here that will let you get closer or further away. If you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can of course use that. If you're using a trackpad, it's a little bit more finicky, but you can do like a 2-finger up or a 2-finger down. Every trackpad is a little bit different. We also have some additional layers here. You can mouse over this little pancake stack. Since we're doing this by population, there is a population density layer that you can use. And that will show you there's a legend over here. So the darker purples are places with more people, right? So here's population center. And then a lot of these rural blocks don't have any people in them at all. So that's good information to have. We also have current administrative boundaries. So we have the current supervisor districts if you want to see those. We have also things like fire district boundaries and community service districts. There's some down there. So again, existing boundaries that are designed to group people together. So if you would like to use those in making your decisions, you have them available. And then the last good piece of information that's in here are the communities of interest. These are boundaries that were submitted by the public via our communities of interest public input application. And so you may want to take a look at some of these. These are communities of people that somebody thought should be kept together and not separated. So please do at least take a look at those before you start assigning your districts as well. All right, let's actually look at how to do this. So I am going to just go here to the northern part of the county. Zoom in a little bit so I can see all those districts. And then we have 3 tools over here for selecting blocks. I'm going to use this first one. This is the default, and it's also the simplest. So what you're going to do is you're going to toggle one of these districts. You don't have to start with district 1, but I'm going to. And then all you have to do is just go in here and start clicking on districts, and it will turn them whatever color is associated with the district that you're working with. Right? So you can just keep going like this as long as you want. You can build an entire district this way. Now, as you can see over here, the population is still 0, and that's just because none of these districts actually, or none of these blocks actually have any people in them. And if you zoom in a little bit further, you can actually hover your cursor over these and get a little pop-up that will show you how many people is in those districts. So let's see. Oh, there's one. Okay, that one has actual humans in it. So if I click on that one, now you can see there's my population 43, and it has started building the graph down here at the bottom. Okay, so I can keep going at this however long I want. As you can see, some of these districts are quite small, so you're welcome to zoom in to make sure that you get those. Some of them are very, very small. You can see like this guy down here, here's this one right here. Those are going to be very difficult to see when you're zoomed out even this far. You can't almost even tell that those exist. And the best way to make sure you don't miss those, because you have to assign all of the blocks, no matter how small they are, and no matter whether they have population in them or not, they all have to be assigned. A good way to make sure you don't miss those and not have to zoom in really close and fly all over the map is to use these other 2 block selection tools. These are more mass selection instead of just one at a time selection. So the rectangle tool does pretty much exactly what it says. You can click on the map, and that will give you an anchor point for your rectangle. And you don't have to hold your cursor, your mouse button down, but you can just drag your cursor around, and you can make a rectangle of any shape or size anchored at that one corner. So if I want to make sure I get all of those little tiny blocks, right, I could do something like this, and then click once more to finish off your rectangle. And it does grab everything that is inside of the rectangle, and it also grabs anything that touches the rectangle. So it grabbed this block down here, and it grabbed this block here as well. Okay. The other option that you have, if you want to grab everything but have a non-rectangular shape, we also have the draw tool, and that lets you draw any just kind of freehand shape that you like. So I'm going to switch over to District 2 here, and I want to grab all of this stuff, but this is going to be more difficult trying to draw a rectangle. So you're just going to click and hold your button down, and then you can kind of draw whatever shape you want. And you don't even have to close off the shape. It'll just grab, again, everything that is inside of that shape or that is touching that shape, and then release your mouse button, and it'll select all of those blocks for you. Okay, and again, those 2 tools will ensure that you get all of those little itty bitty tiny districts and that you don't miss any of them. So that's how this works. If you're doing sort of manual district selection, just kind of work your way through all of these districts, pay attention to the deviation numbers here, watch the graph. Here's your visual representation of that target population is this black line at the end here. Okay. These bottom 2 boxes, you don't have to pay too much attention to until you start getting close to being done. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to try to assign all of these. I'm actually going to go back over here to create new, and I'm going to say create a new proposal using the current districts. That'll at least put us closer to being done so that I can show you what those bottom 2 boxes are for. So here we go. Here are the current district boundaries. And here's the graph. And again, you can see why we're doing this redistricting process in the first place. The population numbers are pretty uneven, especially between District 1 and Districts 2, 3, and 4. So you still have to give it a name and a description. And here we go. So this is all sort of pre-populated for us. But now, since most of the blocks are assigned, looks like we still have 3 that are unassigned. So I'm going to resolve those first. Now, if you are starting from a proposal you didn't create, like this one, it's probably going to be pretty hard to find those 3 unassigned blocks. They're probably very small. So the easiest thing to do is hit resolve here. And what that's going to do is just give you a list of all of the blocks that have not yet been assigned. It'll also show their population. And all you have to do here is just click on one of these and it'll zoom the map right to that block. You can always zoom out if you need a little bit of context as to where that is. This one pretty obviously needs to go into District 2. So you can just use this drop down here and say you go with District 2. It turns it green and it removes it from the list. And then you can just keep going down the list like that. So this one pretty obviously goes in 3. And this one obviously goes with 3 as well. There we go. So once you've emptied this list, you can return to this overview tab, which is where we were. And now this box down here has turned green. You have assigned all blocks and you have met that requirement. The second requirement is that the population numbers be pretty close to the target. We recognize that it is impossible to get the exact same number of people in all of the districts. And so the requirement really is just that you get pretty close. And the numerical value for pretty close is within 10%. And that deviation specifically references the difference between the least populous district, so right now that's 1, and the most populous district, which right now is 2. Okay, so you have to get essentially the biggest one and the smallest one within 10% of each other. Once you have done that, this box will turn green, and once both of the boxes are green, then you can submit your proposal. So once you're ready to submit, you just hit the submit button. It will ask you to confirm your submission. And once you've confirmed, then your proposal will show up in the list of existing proposals so that other people can look at it. That's this preview button. Or someone else could use your proposal as a starting point for their own proposal. Hopefully this was helpful for you. If you need to get back to this video, that can be done on this home tab or from the help button elsewhere in the app. We've also linked the full documentation, and you can find that on the redistricting webpage as well for some additional help. Good luck creating your districts.